Today, let's dig into the concept of polarity coaches. If you've been on short form media in any of the last few weeks, you've probably seen an influx of men pushing relationship advice while calling themselves polarity coaches. What is a polarity coach? That's something I had to dig into and do a little bit of research on, but let's talk about it. First, let's listen to one of them.
Why I don't let my wife set boundaries with me. Setting a boundary sounds like stop doing this, don't do that. That's energetically leading, which means it's masculine, which means it's disrespectful when a woman communicates that way to her man.
Here's why women who don't set boundaries in relationships get treated way better by men.
All right, I showed you two of them, but those are some of the things that polarity coaches are teaching as dating advice and relationship advice. So digging through, the first instance that I was able to find of somebody mentioning polarity in reference to relationships came from a 2010 article in Flair. The Flair article talked about increasing the passion in your relationship by doing a polarity dynamic exchange. In it, they say that women should allow men to lead occasionally, take control in the bedroom, to have an old-fashioned rump in the hay. The interesting thing about the Flair article is it talks about that the dynamic occasionally needs to be exchanged, occasionally letting the woman take charge. That's a big difference than what those two polarity coaches are teaching, a lifestyle in which a woman fully submits to her man. So we have to dig a little deeper and figure out, where did this come from? What caused this shift from what we're seeing in 2010 about an occasional power dynamic alternating between the man or the woman taking charge to women should fully submit to their man? Polarity coaches give us a clue on where to look with their use of words such as masculine energy and feminine energy. Masculine energy and feminine energy are a New Age concept in which they talk about divine masculine, divine feminine, and how they interact together to complete the perfect unit. The problem with this New Age concept is it is a whitewashed and watered down version of a Hindu spiritual belief. And anytime you take another culture's complex belief system and boil it down into buzzwords, it's going to cause some issues. But taking those complex beliefs and boiling them down to buzzwords is a main tactic of so-called self-help gurus. And if you want to know what self-help gurus are going to do, you need to look no further than Mr. Self-Help, Inspiration, and Spirituality himself, Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins has been a major player in the self-help, inspirational, and empowerment movement for years. He hosts seminars, webcasts, and even sells his book and running a full blog. If you ever want to try to predict what's going to happen within the self-help genre, look no further than Tony Robbins. If he does it, chances are everyone's going to do it shortly after. If you look at Tony Robbins' blog, what does he have post-ons? Relationship polarity. So Tony Robbins is also popular out of the mainstream self-help genre. He's also found as a recommendation in other communities, such as the Manosphere. If you've never heard of the Manosphere, consider yourself lucky. The Manosphere is a collection of websites, blogs, books, seminars, speakers, all presenting themselves as some sort of men's self-help community. And then the Manosphere can be broken down into several sub-communities. You have Red Pill, Married Red Pill, MGTOW, men going their own way. Even the incel communities can be considered within a part of the Manosphere. Many presenters and speakers in the Manosphere love Tony Robbins. They also have another uncrowned king, David Deida. David Deida is an American author. He's also one of the most recommended authors within the Red Pill and Incel communities, those communities that make up the Manosphere. If David Deida says it, more than likely it's going to be considered gospel. For example, one of his books is The Way of the Superior Male, and that is pretty much required reading to jump into any Manosphere discussion board. If you ask a question there, someone's going to ask whether you read the book and then make fun of you if you haven't read the book. In doing a quick search, you can see that David Deida wrote about polarity in relationships. And this is what cemented the belief of polarity in relationships as a core Red Pill and Manosphere belief. They already had the belief of framing in which a man should lead, that a woman should submit to her man, and that by a man thinking and acting a certain way and framing his reality around him, that would cause women to want to submit to them. This gave them another way to sell that same idea. It becomes a rebranding attempt for many of the speakers of these communities. These communities have already been banned off major social media sites such as Reddit. But now these communities can now pop back into those spaces, not referring to themselves as red pill or pickup artistry, but as polarity coaches. So when you see one of these speakers claiming to be a polarity coach, just remember, it's nothing more than pickup artistry and red pill misogyny sprinkled with a little bit of New Age on top.